Hey everyone, I wanted to share my ultimatum strategy. This prints currency, and I haven't seen anyone post this specific variation. So let's jump in. The way this works is we are going to use the ultimatum scarab of catalyzing to convert all of our ultimatum rewards to catalysts. We are then going to convert those rewards to inscribed ultimatums, and then leveraging the new idle setup, where we are able to increase the likelihood of making the inscribed ultimatums reward currency, we will basically just be printing divines. So there's 3 different tiers of divine rewards that you can get: 1, 4, and 8. And so each of these, that's how much profit you make, assuming you don't fail the inscription. And you will, over the course of 20 maps, whatever you decide to run, you will generate a ton of these. So let's go through the rest of the strategy, just so you can understand how this works. Again, most important mod is that you're converting the inscriptions to currency rewards. And then the second most important mod is that we're going to duplicate all of our rewards. So you want to get as close to 100% duplication as possible. I'm at 98, but that is the second most important mod. After that, there's a whole bunch of other mods that you can prioritize. We're going to use the ultimatum scarab of bribing to make the rewards get a little bit better. And then if you can afford it, or you are successful with a recombinator, you can add the second ultimatum mod to your idols. I will say these are not necessary to get started in the strategy. You'll still make a good profit even without having the second mod on these Conqueror idols. That's pretty much it. A few other things to highlight. One is that we are using Grueling Gauntlet to add 3 more rounds to each ultimatum. The main reason is we're just investing a fair amount with our scarabs, so you might as well try and eke out a little bit more profit per map, as long as your build can handle it. This does make running the map substantially harder, so just be aware of that. Since we have an open scarab slot, I'm using Horn Scarab Preservation just because it saves us a little bit of currency. And if these ever get way too expensive, these are usually around 1.9, 2 div. But if these get too expensive, you can just use the preservation instead. One quick thing, if you're not able to run this idol, your build's not quite strong enough, I would recommend tossing in the ultimatum scarab of dueling to get some tainted catalysts at the end of each of your maps. So a few other things to note that make this really efficient, or can help make this a lot more efficient. The first is you'll notice the challenge type on each of these. The same is true of your ultimatum in the map. There's 4 different challenge types. There is Survive, Stand in Stone Circles, and then there is Defeat Waves of Enemies, and lastly, Protect the Altar. Protect the Altar is the fastest, followed by Waves of Enemies, followed by Stone Circles. So Survive is sort of the worst or the least efficient. What we're going to try and do is increase the likelihood of doing Protect the Altar. So you're going to run 3 of these small idols with chance to require you to protect the altar. This is also a good place to get ultimatum chance too, since you'll want to get that to 100% over all of your idols. And then the next thing that we do that makes things even faster, so you can run these maps super, super quick, is each of these large idols has increased number of monsters. And that'll improve 2 out of your 4 challenge types. So that'll improve both Protect the Altar as well as defeat waves of enemies. So much so that those challenges will just go by in like 30 seconds. They're really fast. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then, you know, this was, I think, 3 or 4 maps right here. And you can see Divine 4, Divine 1, Divine 4, Divine 8, Divine 8, Divine 4. So this really does just spit out a ton of divines. Depending on how efficiently you can do it, you can make easily 40, 50 divs an hour, not including other rewards. And that said, there are definitely other rewards. Some of your ultimatums can reward divination cards. Most of them are not good, but occasionally you'll get really, really high value ones, like Luminous Trove was the best one I've gotten. And then you can also get T0 uniques. So I got a Headhunter one that duplicated. I've probably gotten around 10 or 12 T0 drops from the strategy. And you can get, you know, good gems, Storm Shroud. I got, yeah, Unnatural Instinct. Again, really good stuff. The other suggestion I have is to run 8 mod maps. This is probably the most controversial thing I'll say in this video. I have found, specifically with Inscribed Ultimatums, I have found in my own playing that it does matter what the map quantity and map rarity is. I'm sure people disagree with that, but I did notice a substantial drop in profit when I was not running 8 mod. The one thing I'll say is, even if you don't agree with that and you think you can like scour T16s and go, these Inscribed Ultimatums are pretty challenging. So much so that I would say an average 8 mod map, assuming it doesn't have any mods that brick your build, with a 13 round ultimatum will be easier than over half of your ultimatums, particularly the more rewarding ones, because the more rewarding the inscription, the more mods are on it, the more challenging those mods are. So even if you don't believe me, your build should still be able to handle doing an 8 mod map. Speaking of which, I did want to offer people some tips on builds that are good for this, because again, you're not able to choose what ultimatum mods you take, whether that's during the map because of this idol or just because that's what the inscriptions have. And you want to run these. You do not want to sell them. These are super hard to sell for profit. So a few tips on how to make your build good for this. You need to both do a lot of damage, but also be tanky and then not fail your ultimatum. The easiest way to fail your ultimatum is this mod, Stalking Ruin 4. An invulnerable shade stalks you, fail on reaching 7 ruin. So it doesn't have to kill you, it just has to hit you 7 times. And the level 4 teleports to you, it shotguns, it shoots super fast. It's tough. In addition, you can also get mods that eliminate your evasion. So monster attacks cannot be evaded. Because of that, we're running Svalin with as close to capped block as you can get. The attack block is what matters for specifically for the shade. So that's recommendation number 1 is run Svalin if you're doing this. Recommendation number 2 is don't run anything that has that relies on cooldowns. So whether that's vol skills or cast on crit. There are mods in Ultimatum that can basically increase your CDR by 500%, which is really tough. And then the other one is for mana stackers. There's one that makes you take 1,000% of mana as damage. I don't think I have it. Nope, don't have it here. A few other tips. You do want Chaos Res. One of the mods is a pretty big poison cloud that will follow you around. So you'll notice I have chaos resistance against damage over time at 72%. You want this to be as high as possible. If you're curious, the way I'm doing this is with Soul of Herakali, and then Soul of Aberoth, because you do run into Burning Ground quite a bit in the strategy. You can get elemental avoidance in a lot of ways, though. A few other tips, depending on what you run, is this mastery is really useful for Ultimatum because you will get the mod with monsters block 50% of your attacks pretty often, so highly recommend this one. Because Ultimatum does do a fair amount of damage to you, you want to make sure you have a good life ES pool with good recovery. I am using this Watcher's Eye that helps quite a bit. The key one here is gain energy shield on hit, and then because of Lightning Strike we have a ton of leech, so highly recommend that. And then you do want to be able to kill lots of monsters very quickly, so make sure you have good clear. I'm doing that with Pierce and Strike, additional targets, and I get Pierce here as well. Again, even if you run white T16s, you'll need it for these, and I'll showcase one in a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a lot of fun. You don't have to spend much time on trade because you can just run everything yourself, so it's pretty handy. I'm going to pull this one out so you can see just how hard these are. And in particular, this one is going to be hard because of the Stalking Ruin and because I have to stand in circles. Actually, let's run a map first before we do that. So you can see how this plays out in a map. We put the idols in. And go. And then I'm running Exarch just because the invitations are a little bit more valuable than Eater. And you just rush the ultimatum. My build is using Headhunter, so it's pretty nice. Because I'm using Headhunter, I will clear the area around the ultimatum before I do it, in case I get the flicker mod. The ways that you fail an ultimatum are if you leave, if you get 7 ruin, and if you leave the circle. So flicker can take you out of the circle, you've got 4 seconds to get back in. Hopefully this showcases, if you're familiar with Ultimatum, just how fast you can do these challenges when you have Protect the Altar with 80% increase monster spawned, and you can just see how fast this goes. My other tip, if you end up doing this, is that there is one ultimatum monster that will run away from you, which can make this take a little bit longer, so you do kind of want to move around the map a bit in order to do this as fast as possible. You'll notice that I'm not even looking at the rewards. If I ever do end up getting to like 5 ruin or so, I will check out what my rewards are and see if it's worth ending the run early, just because it is still possible to fail. And even with an 8-mod map and getting all these runs, you'll see we've got 50% increased damage taken, all sorts of stuff that's doing fizz damage, and our build has no fizz protection. We do have a ton of HP from Headhunter though. Ruin really is the thing that you're most worried about in these maps. Alright. So I just pick everything up and I'll talk about the looting of them. Get back to the hideout. The other benefit, if you're going to do this a lot, is of running 8-mod maps, is you do get some gold sustain while you're doing this. Not a ton, but a little bit. So that's another reason why I like to do it. All right, so it just drops the and we got 3, I think just 3. 4 div from that one. So the other thing that you can do, I just want to showcase this, back to this tab. You'll notice that the Divine 8 reward has this mod at the bottom, 120% more life. Obviously that makes it harder. That also corresponds to its rarity. There's several breakpoints. There's 30% more life. There's 70% more life. And you can see that's the Exalt and Divine times 4. Then there's 120. And then lastly, we'll see if I get it, 200, no. The T0s are an example where you'll get that 200% more life. You can sell your inscriptions that you don't want to run, and my recommendation is to group them together. So we don't actually have enough for the 120s, but let's take some 70s. So annulment times 4. Okay. Let's put that over here. And then what you can do is you just sell all of these 5 to 1, and then you'll get back one of comparable rarity. And so sometimes you can get, for 70, you could get a Divine times 4 back, which is super nice. Anyway, that's the map. It's really fast, as you can see. And then I'm going to run this inscription so you can see just how tough it is. This actually, even for my build, can be failed just because of how much ruin we run into. So this is stand in the circles. Even when you're standing here, you do want to kind of be moving. You can see in the top left, I've already got 1 ruin. 2. Getting kind of unlucky. So you want to keep an eye on that. The other tip for circles is it'll point where to go if you're paying attention. Another little pro tip is try and jump off of the circle right before or right after. When you're doing, we're at 3. When you're doing this, I'll show you. So we jump, and then if you jump out of the circle at exactly the right time, it increases the likelihood of getting another circle close to you. So it's just one little small optimization you can do. We're still at 3 ruin, 4. actually fail this. The other benefit of using Headhunter over a Mage Blood is that you can get the blocks 6. Oh, right before we almost finished it. That's about like the hardest ultimatum that you can even do. So a little bit of a bummer. I'm sure if I wasn't narrating while doing it, I might have had a little bit better luck. But yeah, that's basically the strategy. Most of them you'll see do not have Stalking Ruin and Stone Circles, which is pretty much like the worst possible combination. So back to the Divine. You see here, this one doesn't even have that, Divine 8. So they do get a little tough. You can fail them. It's another reason why you want to be careful about buying them off trade. But as you can see, I started with 0 divines, running the strategy. I have farmed a ton with it. It's been super successful. Even when you fail an 8, which will happen, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully everyone found this helpful. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments. And then I'll be streaming a bit, so if you want to follow along, I'm also going to be working on a new character. Feel free to check it out. All right, take care.